So I recently created a recipe for keto puff pastry using the CK flour, and because of time I didn't get to share some examples with you of how to use it in your favorite creation. Now I thought the most popular one is croissants, and that's what we're starting off with. This croissant is buttery, flaky, and you can tell by the pastry, we've shown you close-ups, that it's got a little bit of cracking. That is just due to the softness and the butteriness of this pastry. Now, if you haven't made your puff pastry, do click on this link now and it'll take you to the tutorial of how to make it with your CK flour. I do want to share that keto puff pastry isn't like regular puff pastry. You've got gluten in there, it's loaded with carbs. So with this puff pastry recipe, there's a few tips and tricks that you need to know so that you could bake anything with this puff pastry at home. Let's get into the recipe now. To make croissants, I am using the CK almond flour version for this puff pastry, just because I think it comes out way better, and I also opted to use xanthan gum because it is stronger than the gelatin and my dough seems to be more sturdier. You are welcome to use gelatin, it does still work. However, I prefer the CK almond for the assurity of the recipe. Also, I'm using the entire batch or full recipe of that CK puff pastry. Now you can see here I've already rolled it out some, but I've got my 1/4 of an inch or 6mm measurement, and I'm just gonna make sure that I have done a good job and rolled it straight because I can never eyeball it. Also, set your oven temperature to 320 degrees Fahrenheit or 160 Celsius and have a baking tray ready. We will line it, but we're going to use the same baking paper that we're working with here. Right, I've got my dough to a 1/4 of an inch thickness, and if you haven't done croissants before, all you need to do is cut triangles into your dough, simply by marking out your middle. And because I want larger croissants than, mini ones, I'm only going to make 4. So you're basically going to cut triangles. So going from your center marking, you're going to line it up with this corner. And then down the middle. And then from your center to the other corner. So we're going to be transferring one triangle at a time onto the second sheet of baking paper, and this technique is going to prevent your dough from cracking as you roll or fold it onto itself. Another tip, if your dough is really soft and prone to breaking as you're trying to move things over and around, do chill your dough for about 10 minutes and it'll firm up. Transferring. Okay, you can see that my triangle isn't symmetrical because of course I was using a rectangle. But if you imagine that that is your middle point and you're working to the pointy end, it'll work out just fine. Just make sure that you're always rolling towards that pointy end, if that makes sense. Remember I said that we were going to use the baking paper to ensure that there's no cracking. When you're rolling, you want to create tension. Right now, we're just going to fold the dough onto itself, like that. And press it, can you see here? I'm pressing down, creating tension. And then smooth that down. And let's keep going. Remember, I'm still working towards my middle. I went off kilter at the beginning, but I'm still working towards the middle. I'm pressing down. Okay, I'm just going to take my butter knife and quickly work out those bigger cracks. And look how easy that is, my goodness. And here's my plain one. I'm just going to set it aside for now. And what's the other most common variation is a chocolate croissant, or you could fill it with sugar-free Nutella. If you need that recipe, click on this link now. It is just so good. Anyway, for 90% chocolate, and I'm just going to place some in the middle so that we can have layers of chocolate. In all honesty, it's about 2 tablespoons worth of the 90% chocolate. It is because it's a big croissant, right? And I know that normally with the chocolate croissants, they're more mini, bite-sized snack type things. Again, creating tension in my paper. Fold once, and then you're going to smooth that down. Not all the way, just so that it starts curling in, like so. And press down and roll. Okay, I'm going to show this to you from the side so you can see there's a big fat space there because my chocolate is taking up that room. And I'm okay with that. You can maybe grate your chocolate and spread it evenly if you want, but I'm going to set that aside for now. In here I have 1 egg, and I'm just going to add a tablespoon of water to create an egg wash and mix that together. And apply all over your croissants, get into the cracks there. And folds. And I'm going to cover my croissants just to protect them. I don't want the outside to bake too fast. I want the inside to bake evenly. So into the oven it goes. Depending on the size of your croissants, like I made very large ones, mine are currently going for 25 minutes. So we're going to have a look at how they turned out now. Okay, I'm just going to lift one up, and you can see that they are very soft and there's a bit more cracking, but I mean, for keto baking, this is what you can expect. Don't expect to get the regular carb infested puff pastry. You want to get one that is guilt-free, and this is what we're dealing with. So now I'm just going to spray them with olive oil spray, just to keep them nice and moist and not dry out. And I'm going to bake them for another 5 minutes just to ensure that everything is nicely baked. Oh, and by the way, you know the croissant that I rolled really fat with the big chocolate chunks? This is how it turned out. It sort of flattened. So this is what happens if you roll your croissants too loosely. It's kind of going to not hold its shape, but I'm definitely still going to eat that. With the other chocolate croissant that I rolled tighter because I grated the chocolate, it's much, much, much better. Okay, in the oven it goes. Now for me, they have taken on a more golden color and they're very soft. Baked on the bottom. Okay, you can see with this one, it held its shape very well, but there's a few cracks, and look how soft that is. And with this one, there's less cracks in it, and I'm not really sure why. I might have just had good tension in my baking paper when I was rolling it. And now I want to show you the chocolate one that didn't hold its shape. That's that. You can see, well, before we baked it, it was high and round. So this is what I mean when I say try and roll it as tight as possible.
That's definitely my one.
And this is the other chocolate one. You can see some chocolate in there. It held its shape much better, and with this one I grated my 90% chocolate. Okay, let's see how these look on the inside and see how soft these are. And you get a sense of the little layers there, and for me that is fully cooked. Don't mind if I do. I want to take a look at my ugliest slash one that didn't work so good. Let's see what it's like on the inside. Whoa. Check it out. My favorite part of the video, taste testing. It's buttery. There's a slight sweetness to it because in this pastry I only added 1/3 of a cup of granulated sweetener. And now for the chocolate. It would be so nice just to, you know, add a dusting of powdered sweetener, but look at this. This is...
Is my croissant pretty good, is it?
Absolute joy. Some people have already jumped ahead and started making their croissants, and I hope this gives you confidence to try making your own croissants at home. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe and be well.